Welcome to the ACC Panic Room, Panic Patio Edition. Brownlow's back. It's like, as our friend Nada pointed out, it's like NC State, North Carolina, App State, and ECU knew you'd be back on the Panic Room today.
And here's what's frustrating. I still have long COVID, so I'm still very tired from very little mental or physical activity. And just the end of the App Carolina game just about took me out, to be honest. I'm just like, oh, what's going on?
It begs the question, why the hell were these games scheduled at the same time?
I was mad when I first saw it, partially because, like, I would have loved to have gone to both in some way. I was mad they were on the same day, much less at the same time.
If I'm Jim Phillips, ACC commissioner, I would call up Jimmy Pitaro or whoever else you need to call up at ESPN and be like, look, guys, I know you can't give us more money right now. Got it. Understand. We can talk about that stuff later. But just do me a solid, just one solid. Can we get these two games with two motivated fan bases and ECU fans and App State fans? Again, more motivated fan bases. Can we get this staggered a little bit?
The problem
Can we get a noon and 3:30?
Then someone's mad because, like, one of those games ends up on ESPN 3 or whatever. So that's probably part of it. But honestly, like, it would have been worth it for some of us casuals.
Yes.
You know, that aren't invested. But I get why it had to happen, I guess. But it still is dumb.
All right, where do you want to start? You want to start with the Wolfpack, or you want to start with the Heels, or you want to start with the no good signs of Virginia Tech losing to Old Dominion, Boston College losing to Rutgers? Anyway, let's start local, obviously.
As I don't know, the Virginia Tech thing, as I pointed out, that's the free space on your ACC bingo card each year. The horrible non-conference loss.
Not great.
In week 1 by an ACC team.
Yeah, not great.
Because even, like, Rutgers, at least it's a Power 5 loss. It's not a good loss, but at least the Power 5 loss. Like, you can't go lose at Old Dominion if you're Virginia Tech ever. And it's now happened, like, what, twice in the last, 4 years?
Yeah.
Not great. Not great.
Let's start with the Wolfpack. Let's start with NC State escaping from Greenville, where ECU's kicker missed 2 crucial kicks. The point after attempt that would have tied it up, and then the game winner there at the end. And, you know, in the scramble of everything, seeing ECU not quite set, NC State decided to call a timeout, which ended up icing the kicker, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. Okay. I don't, like, that's one of those things.
They were having to rush, though. That's the thing. Like,
you can say that with the result.
And that dude, with time, shanked an extra point. Like, and so I did say to you, to be fair, even before that kick, I'm like, listen, that guy shanked that extra point so bad that, like, if he makes this kick from that distance, I will believe in a curse for NC State. Like, now I will always believe in it if he makes it, because he just shanked that extra point so bad.
What curse?
I don't, whatever.
What
so
curse?
now I guess it's lifted, right?
What curse? Gilio and I went over to Carter Finley Stadium. We did some we did some rituals. Do you want me to go get the curse reverse candle out of the car? I actually have the rest of the candle in the car. I saved the rest of it just in case. I feel like I'm going to have to burn some more of it outside Carter Finley Stadium. I feel like everything that Gilio and I did at Carter Finley Stadium with the curse reverse, the incense, the clean house spell, the keeping the hounds of hell and your enemy's path and everything, all the sage and various herbs that we used, I feel like it all got used up in Greenville.
Here's the thing, too, though, right? Like, Dave Doran's done a great job over the last few years.
Yeah.
I think his approach has done really good things for NC State. But now you've got a quarterback that you've been touting, rightfully so, as one of the best in the country. And I don't know what it is about their offense. I don't know what it is. I think I compared it today on Twitter to, like, seeing a really nice new car going 20 below in the far right lane with its caution lights on. Like, it doesn't make sense to me why they don't open things up and take a few more chances. I think that they absolutely have to figure out a way to make this offense look and be as dynamic as it could be. You've got a lot of experience on the O-line. You've got playmakers at the skill spots. You've got Devin Leary, but it's not looking the part whatsoever, and I don't really know what the disconnect is.
Yeah, this is a deep cut. Some of you would get this, but Tim Beck is their offensive coordinator at NC State, and NC State this season, if they're going to make it a special one, you've got Devin Leary, as you were kind of complaining, yelling at the television while you were watching the end of that game. It's like you can't spend all off season talking up Devin Leary only to, handcuff him, essentially.
Right.
So what you need Tim Beck to do is that we need more Odelay and Midnight Vultures Beck. We don't need sea change, depressing, contemplative Beck. You just got to let it fly.
Okay.
If you've got Devin Leary, as much as you built it up. But it's what's
to
funny
be fair
is,
to Beck, though, we don't know
True.
if it's Doran, because sometimes defensive coaches can be a little more conservative in their approach on offense. We don't know what kind of role that's playing, but regardless, something's got to change on offense, because State controlled that game for the most part, but it didn't reflect it on the scoreboard, and then they almost lost it.
Well, let me ask you this, though, and I think this is a fair thing to say about NC State, because we don't know. Actually, shout out to Bennett for pointing this out. How differently do we talk about NC State if things don't end the way that they end against Carolina last year, and of course the unknown of the Holiday Bowl, right? If things because it ties into what I had tweeted out during the game, in that NC State seems to be in mid-season tortoise mode. There's nothing wrong with being the tortoise, the whole slow and steady wins the race. I mean, that's going to be good, as experienced as they are, as great as their defense is. You've got somebody who's cool, calm, and collective in Devin Leary. And, being able to get out of these jams is a learned behavior after a while. And in the last 2 seasons going into this season, NC State's been in that mode. But at some point, you're just going to have to flash it on somebody. We haven't seen it yet.
I think we see this every time a team from this area, whether it's Carolina or State, goes into the year with any kind of hype. We see a lot of puckering happening and a lot of tight play.
Yeah.
And I think State has always been able to kind of be the underdog. Even last year against Carolina, Carolina was the team with the preseason ranking and all that other stuff.
Yep.
State was just still the plucky old underdogs, proving themselves at the end of the year. Well, now it's kind of going to be the reverse, you would think. Even, we don't know how State's season's going to play out going into that game, but I mean, it could be. Now the dynamics are reversed. They've got to start taking more chances, I feel like, and they've got to stop. They've got to loosen up, or else it's going to end in disappointment, I think, for them.
Well, the good news for State is going to Greenville was always going to be tricky, right?
Of course.
That was always going to be a tricky dynamic.
ECU's better than it's been in a couple of years.
Mike Houston's building that up in Greenville. You knew that they were going to be hyped for that game. Gilio likes to use the phrase Super Bowl. He doesn't mean it in a negative way. You just knew that this was their game.
Oh, of course.
In the same way for App, hosting Carolina.
Absolutely.
That was a big deal for Carolina to go to Boone.
The same way when ECU hosts Carolina, it's the same deal.
It's not meant in a negative way. It's like it should be viewed as this big deal. Here's your prove it moment. And ECU almost pulled it off. But the good news for State is that they've got some easy games coming up. Texas Tech could be tricky, but my argument with this kind of stuff is that Texas Tech in the grand scheme of things doesn't matter. It's just making sure you're healthy and you're finding what you really need to be good at. Figuring things out at running back, right?
Yeah.
Figuring things out as
slime.
step-up wide receivers. I need more slime time.
We need more slime.
More slime time, okay? That's what I need. Make this Nickelodeon. Say, I don't know. Say whatever it is you have to do. Just give me the slime.
Pass it to him out of the backfield some more. You want to stay conservative. That's a decent way to do it. Come on. Let him make some plays.
So they're going to have some time here with Charleston Southern coming up, UConn, and then obviously the Texas Tech game. But again, the Texas Tech game to me is whatever. It's just get healthy, figure out who your guys are, get them in position, because I'm not going to say the season is decided in Death Valley in the Atlantic Division. I'm not going to go that far because we don't know what Clemson.
Possible.
We don't know what Clemson is yet, right? We don't know what they are yet. They have a good defense. I get that. We don't know, but DJ Uyunglele might not be the guy. We don't know yet. So I'm not ready to call that the season yet for NC State, but you're going to go a long way to helping yourself out if you go to Death Valley and you win that game. Now, speaking of big deal bowl games, to Boone, where that was
Arena League game broke out. Basketball game. Both
fan bases checking out at the wrong times early on, right? Carolina fans were checked out early on. It was 21-7, and then shout out to Ross Martin over at Inside Carolina, who got some video of people at Boone, App State fans taking off when they were down a couple touchdowns.
Are they new here?
Right.
Well, they must be.
And that's the thing. So here's my overall takeaway.
Listen.
Here's my overall takeaway for Carolina. Drake May's that dude. They got a backfield this year, all right, with Petaway and Hampton. They can overcome the loss of Josh Downs. It looks like
they have more options at receiver, and that's a good thing for them, because it was really just Josh Downs and a bunch of other dudes that either came through or didn't last year. They got more depth. They got more options there for sure.
So there's a lot to like on the offensive side of the ball.
Their offense could be better. I know it's early and it's they haven't been tested the way they will, but I really think it's possible. And some of it is because of the pressure thing I talked about with State.
Yeah.
This is not like that. Last year's offense was playing with a ton of pressure on it. Sam Howell, I'm sure, felt that, and he didn't play as well as I know he would have liked to. And then a lot of other things kind of happened, and they weren't as good as maybe we thought that they would be. But this year, they're kind of playing without that pressure. They got a brand new quarterback. Yeah. They got no expectations. Like, they can just let it loose, and that's exactly what they're doing.
So,
and they'll have to, because they will not beat anyone if they don't put up a lot of points.
There was a moment in this game where Drake May scores a touchdown. He's got a little running ability. We're so used to Sam Howell thinking, well, how are you going to replace Sam Howell's running ability? Well, Drake May seems to have it as well when it's needed. It's not like what we saw out of Sam Howell last year, where he was really their only running game.
Right. And that's the other thing that makes the offense better as well.
Yes, it makes it incredibly better. But there was a moment where Sam Howell, their old quarterback, there in the end zone, is dapping up Drake May.
I know, I saw that.
Okay? Great moment. An absolute great moment. But I do wonder if when they were dapping up, Sam Howell looked at Drake May and go, buddy, we doing this again? If like Drake May goes, man, I felt bad for you last year having to bail out this defense all the time. Because that's what this offense is going to be for North Carolina again. Gene Chizik was brought in, understandably, to correct the breakdowns in their defense last year.
Are we sure it's actually Gene Chizik and not just a hologram? I have been a little out of the loop with my law. I don't know.
And it's not like possible. Carolina doesn't have a talent problem. They've been building talent.
Someone's going to need to explain this to me, like,
and
yet. I don't. Because this is the thing, like, because people are like, well, they weren't good last year, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Here's the thing. They have talent, like you said, A. B, no one's expecting them to be like the top defense in the country.
No,
but now they're like, but it's not too much for Carolina fans or anybody else to ask for them to not be like one of the worst, especially considering what they have. And it's inexplicable to me that they continue to somehow get worse as their talent pool continues to seemingly improve. Someone make that math for me.
It's confusing, and again, it's not a talent issue for North Carolina. And Gene Chizik was brought in to simplify the scheme, much like we saw with Larry Fedora. It seemed to work with Larry Fedora, but that was pretty inexcusable what we saw at a North Carolina.
That defense wasn't even as talented as I don't think so. Not as this one, or at least not the way it's been built up. And look, Chase Bryce recovered from his bad year at Duke. He had a good year last year.
I've been convinced that what we saw to Chase Bryce at Duke was more about where Duke's program was than Chase Bryce. That proved to be true last year in the Sun Belt, where Chase Bryce was their top passer. He was the Sun Belt's top passer last year. Now, they had a veteran wide receiver group. He had some dudes to throw to. But we saw moments here as well where running game-wise, and Chase Bryce was able to make some throws. But we did see some of that Duke Bryce show up.
A little bit.
Some overthrows, and obviously the most crucial one there.
Turnover-y stuff.
And then the most crucial one, what would have been the game-winning 2-point conversion.
Overthrows a little bit. I don't know if that was an issue with the receiver not getting where he's supposed to be, because you can kind of see the receiver getting hard on himself on that play too. I don't know what happened, but that was wide open.
But here I am thinking, okay, Carolina's going to escape in the same way that NC State escaped with a missed field goal. In this particular case, Chase Bryce overthrows a 2-point conversion that would have won it. But then Carolina does situational football that you think they'd be better at right now. And
I'll be curious to see what Max says about that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be curious to see if they did try to tell them don't score, or if they didn't, because I'm sorry, have you seen your defense for the last few years? Absolutely, just hold the ball. Hold the football. They have one timeout?
Yeah, don't give the ball back. I jokingly tweeted out that
Carolina never let them have the football. As few times as possible should you give the ball back. Honestly, if they wanted to onside kick it every other time they scored, I'd be cool. Although that does obviously put your defense in an even worse position, but still, I would get it.
Yeah.
As a strategy, I would understand.
Yeah.
Because you're not stopping anybody.
So anyway, I kind of had my eyebrow was raised in the Florida A&M win, considering ineligibility, and that game was an 11-point game in the third quarter.
It took them a legit almost like 3 full quarters to wear down a depleted FCS team, and especially at the line of scrimmage too. Like, that was a concern for me for sure.
And as good as there are good quarterbacks in this league, and teams are, once you get past those weird first week weirdness that we see from time to time, that's gonna cost you.
Well,
and that's my concern for, because Carolina, to me, Carolina's the type of team that's just gonna, especially offensively, they're just gonna get better as the season goes on, but their season's not gonna go anywhere.
Can the defense get better? Because it can't get worse.
I don't know.
How does it get worse? Look, is it possible?
To me, for Carolina, I'm calling it right now, and we'll close on this. To me, Carolina's season is a success if we get Drake May taking on Kentucky in a bowl game. It's the only thing I want.
I mean,
it's the only thing I want, Lauren.
I think, listen, far be it for me, and if you have followed Carolina football for any length of time, you'll understand this. Far be it for me to predict anything good to happen to North Carolina football. However, I do think that they're intriguing this year because this is like the first year under Mac since year one where they don't have any expectations. They're not playing under that weight of pressure. And I think that their offense is good enough to maybe knock somebody off, maybe win a few more games than we think they might. Now, because the thing is, yes, I know their defense is terrible, but you still have to execute on the offensive end. And I mean, like today, if you're an NC State fan, do you still feel very confident that your team's going to put up 60 points against Carolina? Well, it depends. Today I wouldn't.
No, today I wouldn't. And if you ask State fans, I think State fans right now are having the argument about even teams that go on to have special seasons have moments where they have to pull it out of their rear end, and that's what happened in Greenville today. So I mean, look, again, all great teams will have that moment. Even those Clemson teams that won national championships had games where you're like,
for sure,
whoa, what's
these
going on
next few games are a good chance for them to loosen up and get confident. And
well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the ACC Panic Room. Welcome back.
Thanks. I'll do my best to be a regular fixture, but I had to basically rest all day to make this happen, and I will go home and nap.
Yes, and shout out to Candace Cooper for filling in. I'm sure we'll see Candace throughout the season as well. We'll see you all next week.